All right. Let me see if it's working. Yes, I'm live, which is good. Again, when you're here, let me know in the live chat, please. Thank you very much. I'll start at 4 minutes as always. So you have the time to walk in the first 4 minutes. At the 4-minute mark, the class will begin. When you're here, let me know in the live chat, please. Thank you very much. Thanks for the thumbs up, whoever gave it. Shalom, Les. I'm glad you're here. Well, I got another thumbs up, whoever gave it. Thank you very much. I'm going to open the live chat on my mobile phone while I'm on the couch. So just wait a minute. All right. I see Suzanne is here also. Tammy is also here. I'm glad you're all here. Again, I'll start at 4 minutes, so within 2 minutes, I'll begin. This is going to be an audio live, so I won't be sharing anything with my screen. I will be making whiteboard classes soon again, but for now, it's just an audio live. And Angie's here. Glad you're here, Angie. It's the best to listen to this live stream on Wi-Fi. Sometimes 3G or 4G can have a buffer, but that shouldn't be a problem. In case there's a buffer, you will still hear the live stream. I see 4 thumbs up. Thank you very much. All right, class has begun. This live stream is a continuation of 2 videos I've uploaded in the past. In 2014 and 2015, it's a while back, I've uploaded videos, just 2 videos about gossiping, in which I spoke out against gossiping. I was addressing the negative effect of gossiping. So anyone who types in gossip, or does it in YouTube, will see those 2 videos and they will see this live stream and they think, is Rashid contradicting himself? No, I'm not contradicting myself. Hear me out here. In daily life, we often use words that are similar but are not the same. For example, jail and prison. Prison is where you're locked up long term after being sentenced. Jail is where you go to when they arrest you. You have to await trial. So jail and prison are two different things. Yet in daily life, we use them as if they are the same. Then, for example, you also have marriage and wedlock. Wedlock is this government contract you sign up for. And for a lot of people, that is what marriage is, this government license. Well, this government license is a tradition that comes from the Roman Empire. That's where the tradition became the norm. Before that, there was no such thing as a marriage license. People just got together and they introduced themselves to their families, and yet a wedding ceremony, often in a religious way, and they would be together. So marriage and wedlock are not the same thing, but people often don't get it. Evidence and proof. Evidence is a signifier that points towards an outcome. Proof is something that leaves no doubt that something actually happened a certain way. So proof and evidence are not the same thing. We use them in daily life as if they are the same, but they're not. Loyalty and faithfulness. Loyalty simply means that you are dedicated to an outcome or to an individual. Faithfulness means that, okay, no matter what happens, I keep going to achieve a good end with this individual for this outcome. So faithfulness and loyalty are similar, but they're absolutely not the same. Someone can be loyal but not faithful. Yes, someone can be loyal but not faithful. Someone can be loyal to you as long as there are benefits for them, or as long as you give them what they want. But they're not faithful. The moment they see benefits elsewhere, that they can get things better, easier somewhere else, they will drop you. So loyalty and faithfulness are not the same thing. So we have various synonymous words we use in daily life. Now, when it comes to gossip, when you mention the word gossip, most of us have this idea of malice or slander. And indeed, malice and slander are by definition wrong. Now, gossip in this live stream isn't just malicious talk or slander about other people. Gossip, in its true sense, simply means passing on information about someone who's not present. Now, think about it. How often in daily life do you pass on information about someone who's not present? It happens daily. I mean, let's say you're at work and you're a receptionist and someone calls, but you see that your boss is in a meeting. Your boss is not present. Well, boss, sorry, I mean employer. Employer is not present. Okay? You would tell the official on the line that your employer is not present now, that they should call back. Now, the employer is not present indeed with you. If the employer doesn't know that you told this individual that he's not present. So in his absence, you pass on information about him. Is this wrong? No, it's not. Look, what I'm aiming with this live stream is that too often our emotional investments in social norms blind us from the obvious dangers that are right in front of us. Okay, let me repeat that. And please repeat it after me in the live chat also, that I know that you understand it, and so that it will stick to you. Our emotional investments often blind us from the obvious dangers in front of us. And I'm going to elaborate on it. For example, you let me give a key description. Let's say someone knocks on your door or they ring your bell. You think, okay, who is it? Now you have a camera installed so that you can see who's at the door. So you don't have to go to the window or you don't have to go to the door itself. So you check the CCTV footage. And when you see the CCTV footage, you see is someone that covers their face. They cover their face with a mask. And I'm not talking about those masks people wear around uh, during this pandemic situation. I'm talking about an actual Halloween mask. They wear a Halloween mask. And they also wear clothes that hide their shape. So you don't even know whether it's a man or a woman that stands there. And they also cover their face completely. Would you answer that individual? Let me know in live chat. Would you answer an individual that rings your bell or knocks on your door, but they have a full mask on and they have oversized clothes so you can't identify whether male or female? Would you open the door? Just let me know. How comfortable would you be to open that door for that individual or to answer them? No, you wouldn't. You don't know who it is. It can be an undercover cop. It can also be a burglar that has a weapon with him. It can also be one of your best friends that plays a prank on you. But here's the thing. If it's a prank, the prank may be risky because what if it's not one of your best friends? You need to know who rings at your bell. Now, another situation. Let's say your phone rings and it's a private number. Now, there are people who pick up their phones, even if it's a private number, but I don't do that. This is the same thing as someone ringing your doorbell or knock on your door, but they wear a full mask on and they hide the shape of their bodies. If you are willing to contact me, I have the right to know who it is that's contacting me and what I'm dealing with. Unless it's an internet forum like or a platform like YouTube where people just come to connect, okay, then I can understand that people make accounts with avatars. But even then, even if I don't know who the individual behind the account is, I still expect the account to have some type of identifier with it. Well, so even in in so-called anonymous environment, people still have identifiers. If anyone is willing to call you, but they have a private number, it shows you they don't want you to call them back. So hold on a minute, you don't want me to call you back because you don't want me to be able to document you've called me. That's why you hide your number. Because if you call me and your number appears, I can always call that number back and also report that number. But the fact you don't want me to know your number so I can't call you back already shows me that you have some intention that cannot be justified. Now, let's translate this to daily life. Would you be comfortable being in a place where everyone projects a pleasant image of themselves and everyone feels entitled to get good outcomes from you without having to be accountable towards you? I know it's a long question. Let me repeat it for you. Would you be comfortable being in a place where everyone just projects a good image of themselves just to get things out of you? Would you be happy to be in such a place? Let me know. All right. Several people said no. I'm glad with that. Because it's obvious. If everyone there is just playing a role, that means that you don't really know who you're dealing with. Why they're playing a role? Because they want to get something out of you, whether it's just sympathy or a good behavior, or that they want to trick you into a sexual affair or whatever. You want to be comfortable in such a situation. But let me tell you, most of us put ourselves in such situations on a regular basis. We are told, mind your own business. We're told it's their privacy. We're told we're told to stay in your own lane. We're told all these things that hint to us that we have to shut up and just get along with the expected of us. And because we don't want to be afflicted nor socially excluded, we tolerate it. And eventually, many of us just accept those norms and those expectations as just the way it is. Just think about, let me say like this. Let me rephrase the question a little bit. Would you be comfortable entering a place where people feel entitled to keep their personal lives hidden? It's the same question that I asked before, but I changed the words now. I changed the terms. Now the question sounds, would you be comfortable entering a place where people keep their personal lives hidden? If I ask the question like this, how would you answer? Let me know in the live chat. The fact alone, there's a delay in answers in the live chat shows that many of you still need to process what I've just done. It is because in the first time I asked the question, I was direct about what's going on. People want to project a good image of themselves just to get something out of you. That's what people are doing. In the second question, I came with a social expectation. This expectation called privacy. Namely, people have a right to control what others know about them. And you've been raised into valuing this thing called privacy, personal space, blah, blah, blah. You've been raised to value those things. So if someone asks you, are you willing to enter a place where those things are valued? You would say yes. But because you're invested in those social norms. But you never questioned those social norms. I mean, think about it. If someone is not willing to admit that they are a vulnerable, fragile creature, just like you, because that's what we all are. We are all vulnerable and fragile creatures. That's all what we are as human beings. We're not only vulnerable and fragile creatures, we're more than that, but we are vulnerable and fragile. That's how we all are, men and women. So when you're dealing with other people, this vulnerability and fragility is something you have in common with them. And because we all are fragile and vulnerable, that means that we have obligations with one another to be considered one another. That's healthy, transparent human communication. However, a lot of people in the world are not comfortable admitting they're fragile and vulnerable creatures. They don't want to face this. They just want compensation. And there are people in the world who go so far they become pathological. They never even want to admit they're fragile and vulnerable. And the way they cope with this is by taking advantage of the vulnerabilities of other people. That's what narcissists do. Narcissists take advantage of your vulnerabilities and weaknesses because they want to face that they're vulnerable and fragile themselves. So people that are narcissists or people that have a narcissistic attitude, they don't want you to realize they're vulnerable and fragile. So they want to present an image of themselves that will impress you so they can get a hold on you. For them to achieve this, they need to hide things about themselves. Look, being vulnerable and fragile comes with a risk that certain things can be misused or used against you. That's true. So I'm not telling you that you need to drop your whole life story or all your data. No, especially your address or your mobile phone number. There are certain things you don't drop out there. Absolutely. Absolutely not. However, if someone is somewhere and they don't want to admit their own fragility and vulnerability, and they always want to keep distance from other people, but at the same time, they expect other people to recognize their expectations, I'm sorry, but you can't justify this. There's no way you can justify such a behavior. But we are trained since children to accept this behavior, especially from people older than us. So we are told that we shouldn't pay attention to our intuition. That's actually what we're taught. Okay, let me ask you a question. Would you would you be okay with shutting down your own intuition just to make other people comfortable? Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with shutting down your own intuition? So that means not be able to receive any warning signals, just keep others comfortable. Would you be willing to do that? Let me know in the live chat. A straightforward question. Would you be willing to shut down your own intuition just to make other people at ease? Unless I recommend you to go more into prayer and fasting, because that's not an answer that's proper. If your intuition is shut down, this means you're not able to process things properly. Your intuition being shut down is the same as putting a blindfold on and driving a car. You can't drive a car with a blindfold on. You can't even walk outside with a blindfold on. That's dangerous. So you wouldn't walk around in traffic, crossing roads with a blindfold on. You wouldn't drive a car with a blindfold on. You wouldn't even socialize with a blindfold on because you don't know who you're talking to. But let me tell you this. What I've asked you, whether you were willing to shut down your own intuition to make other people comfortable, that is what society expects from you all the time. They just phrase it differently. And here's the thing: you can ask for, you can demand. Let me say this: someone can tell. Let's say people are talking loud on the phone, not in somewhere in the street, and you're trying to, but you notice that something's off. So you need to listen. You ask them, "Could you guys please keep it quiet, please?" Okay, people talk to lower the volume, but you can also say, "Shut the fuck up, people! You're too loud." What's the difference? In both cases, you want people to lower their voice. In the first case, you consider the people and you requested them to do it. In the second case, you just escalate on them because you're upset. It's the same expectation you have towards them, but you express it differently. This is what you need to know about society. Society has reprobate, that means dishonorable expectations of you, but they never phrase it in an obvious, direct way. Because if society would phrase their expectations too direct to you, you would think, what did you say? What do you want me to do? What do you expect? You'd be shocked. So society always phrases their expectations in a pleasant or logical way. Because if they phrase expectation in a logical or pleasant way, you're more likely to comply. And you're less likely to resist. That's human psychology society uses against you. So, about what does this have to do with gossip? Think about it. If in a community information is not passed around, that means that in that community, predators can easily get away with their crimes. Just think about it. Let's say you have a community where parents are literally abusing their children. And let's say people notice the children with blue spots, and people keep talking about it. It keeps passing around. At some point, it's going to reach the employer that um, of that parent, and also then it's going to reach there's other people to say, that company hires a child abuser. So one day the employee may come and ask the parent, what is this that I'm hearing you beating your child? I don't want my company to be associated with child abusers. And then the parent knows, okay, I need to be kept in check because people will be on me. But what if in a community everyone remains quiet? People notice that the child has blue spots, but people just pretend like nothing's going on because it's none of their business. They just keep to themselves. In that case, the abusive parent is enabled and empowered by the silence of the community to continue the child abuse. So a community where information isn't passed around is a dangerous place to be. I'm not saying all information should be passed around. I didn't say that. But information should be passed around in the community because that's how people stay informed and connected. People stay informed and connected by information being passed around in a group. If you work at the company and no information is passed around at all, how do you know what's going on in the company? How do you know how to do your job? You want to be able to do your job if you don't know anything that goes on in the company. Yet, in daily life, we accept this ridiculous notice that we shouldn't pass information around and we just have to keep to ourselves, which is quite dangerous to do. A community where information is not passed around is a community where dark secrets remain dark secrets. It means very ugly stuff will continue to happen because there's nobody noticing, hold on a minute, what's going on here? So this mind your own business mentality that people in the world have is quite dangerous. That is why when some of those abused children grow up and they become monsters, the Heavenly Father does not protect the community because community is out of line anyway by not facing themselves as a community. It's not only individuals that have to face themselves, communities need to face themselves too. So if a community refuses to face their crimes, refuses to face their neglect, they persist in it, why would the Heavenly Father then protect them against the consequence of their own neglect? They're the ones insisting on neglect. So why should they be freed from the consequence of neglect they put out there in the earth realm? They shouldn't be neglecting anyway. Look, when information is passed around, everyone knows if I do something that's dangerous or something that's risky, or if I do something that I can't account for, that I can't explain in public, it's going to haunt me. It's going to haunt my family, my relatives. It's going to haunt the community. I mean, it's going to be quite uncomfortable. So you know what? I'm not going to do this. I'm going to pay attention to what I'm doing. Now, this will not automatically make everyone righteous. There's going to be creeps that will censor themselves and behave themselves out of necessity. They're still creeps, but they don't have the opportunity to act out the creepiness. Now, in any case, things are kept safe. So, is gossip always wrong? No, it's not. Is gossip something you should prefer? No, you shouldn't. Look, there's a look, when information passes around, misinformation can also pass around too. So I don't agree with just going around and spreading information that's not verified. I'm not saying that. Look, if there's a rumor, you can share the rumor, but you have to mention it's a rumor. It's not. It's alleged. If you spread alleged facts, that's fine because it's alleged. Okay. If later proven it wasn't true, so what? You mentioned what's alleged. If it's proven to be true, something has been prevented. Gossip can be homicidal. And in most cases, gossip is homicidal, as I mentioned in a video from, I believe, 2014, because people spread misinformation just to be entertained. Now, that's something, that's malice, that's slander, that's something we shouldn't do. But we should spread information that's common out there. If you see someone always leaving the house at midnight, it can be that they're going to their work because they work night shifts, okay? But if they don't work any night shifts, why they're always leaving the house at midnight often? If you live in a community and you see this happening, you should mention it to your parents, saying, "Mom, Dad, this guy keeps leaving the house at midnight." If your parents tell you, "Mind your own business, there's nothing to do with you," your parents are enablers. They're collaborators of danger. What if later people find out that there were people being kidnapped around there? And then the police finds out that there is a man who leaves his house every midnight. And the people that end up missing around 2 or 3 a.m. So then the police begins to think, hold on a minute. These people hear about people going missing in the early morning over and over again. People get kidnapped. And there's this guy who always leaves his house uh, at midnight. Now, there can be a logical explanation for it. That man doesn't have to be guilty or involved with those kidnappings. But still, it's a bit odd someone's leaving their house at midnight. Why didn't any of the neighbors ask him, "Man, I see you after leaving at midnight"? Why didn't anyone address that? If later comes out that this man was involved in the kidnappings, those people around there are guilty also. Not because they perpetrated the crimes, but because they enabled and empowered the crime by not paying attention to their communities. And this is also one of the reasons, one of the reasons why there are many cold cases out there. I already explained it to you. A cold case is a criminal case that the public doesn't want to be solved. Okay, let's say that uh let's say Charles, I'm just making up an example. Say Charles was found dead. His body was found near a bus station. He was stabbed several times. But before that, Charles went missing for 2 days. And now the police is there to investigate the crime. They talk to neighbors, relatives, friends, classmates. but people are quite reluctant to help the police. What? Because the thing is, there was contention against Charles for a while already, and people never addressed the contention against Charles. The moment slander went around about Charles, people should address it and ask, okay, you guys are talking all this shit about Charles, but do you have any proof to back it up? And if you have proof, why are you spreading it around? Why don't you report it if it's really that serious? So people did not address the malice or slander community. Now look, if there's information that's sensitive or information that's controversial coming out there about someone, it doesn't mean you should just ignore it. You should look into it. Let's say you're a rumor that a school teacher is sexing teenage girls, underage teenage girls. This can be slander, just to put the man in negative daylight. Am I telling you to just believe it? No. I'm just telling you to look into it. If you find out this man is a happily married man and he barely has underage people in his classes, now you know, okay, it's just full slander. If he has teenagers in his class, just tell him, hey, sir, there are people spreading all those weird rumors about you, having sex with your pupils. So just let him know people are spreading slander about him so that he is aware. Because here's the thing: if you're the target of slander, it simply means people want to bring you down. They spread slander about, they conduct a smear campaign just to lower your reputation. Because once your reputation is lowered, it's more easy for others to victimize you. So if there's slander going on about someone, instead of attacking the slanderer, inform the target that's being slandered that there are people slandering you. So the individual knows, watch out. But often people don't even do that. People don't even tell Charles, hey Charles, there are people murmuring about you. So beware. Don't beware who you trust around here. People don't even do that. You don't have to mention the names of the people that were slandering, but just let someone know there's slander going around. There's some dangerous situation developing. People don't even do that. And then when Charles went missing and he was found dead, all those people that practice his code of silence, they know now deep down inside they're responsible for allowing this to get out of hand. So they don't want the police nor anyone else to find out that they've enabled slander against someone, which led to someone's demise. So they'll be reluctant to help the police. And at some point, the police will figure out, people not willing to cooperate with the investigation because the people don't want it to be solved. Because once it's solved, their hypocrisy and also their cowardice will be revealed. And once this is revealed, it will make the community look bad, and this will lead to more violence. So the police will decide, you know what, we're going to leave this case alone. It will turn into a cold case, maybe a decade or two later, someone else will solve it. That's how cold cases come into being. That's how it happens. Look, if there's slander and malice, register it, pay attention to it, and then look into it. Because what if there's a rumor that that are underage girls having sex with a grown teacher? Let's say this is not just slander, but it's also true. Now something needs to be addressed. But if you just hear it and say, "Hey, I don't want to hear about it," you're an enabler. Am I telling you to go into every slander and malice out there? No, because there are way too many smear campaigns out there. I'm not telling you to go into every slander or malice that you hear. No, I'm just telling you, be alert to your own environment. When you hear rumors, look into them. You don't have to do a full investigation. Just look into it. Because this is how it always begins. It always begins with slander and malice, and then it turns into homicide. And from homicide, it can turn into a massacre. Because once people get away with killing someone after smear campaigns, they will do it again and again and again. Look, I'm not saying that we should allow slander and malice to have their a full platform. No, we can shut down slander and malice when we can. But we also should not strive to have this politically correct environment where nobody addresses anything. This is not a live stream against political correctness. Political correctness can be a handy tool to de-escalate conflict. So political correctness can be a handy tool, but political correctness often goes too far. It often goes so far that nobody is even allowed to address something that's dysfunctional or uncomfortable. When you are in a situation where nobody even dares to address something uncomfortable or dangerous, then you know you're in a dangerous setting. Addressing something doesn't mean escalating your mouth just to dump your frustration. No, you can also address something by hinting hinting that something's wrong. There's also a way of addressing something. But if you're in a situation where you even feel threatened or you even feel uncomfortable giving hints that something is wrong, then you know it's a bad situation. Yet those politically correct environments are what we are trained to see as safe spaces. Again, I'm not saying political correctness is by itself always wrong, but too often it goes too far. Many of those quote unquote safe spaces are just environments where people don't want to face things. That's it. So, gossip is a handy tool for analyzing what goes on in the community. I don't care whether the content of the gossiping is true or not. That is irrelevant. If it's slander and malice, then it absolutely is wrong. If the gossip is of malice, is of a malicious intent, or it's just slander, then it's wrong, absolutely. But in, in any way, the content of the gossip itself is irrelevant. When there's gossip, it means something's going on in the community. Check what is going on in the community. I'm not telling you to choose sides. I'm not telling you to participate in the gossiping. But here's the thing, you have to mention that there's gossip. To repress gossip means that you're setting yourself up and your community for failure. So if there are rumors in the streets that someone's cheating on his wife, you don't have to spread around that someone's cheating on their wife. But you can address, well, there are rumors that the people are cheating on their spouse around here. You can leave the specific individual out, but still mention that the gossip going around. You can leave the identity of the targets out, but still you need to admit gossip goes around. And then you look into the gossip to figure out why is this going around. So we'll pray for you, Suzanne. Don't worry. Everyone else, please pray for Suzanne. There are issues with her relatives. Now, look, when you are in an environment where people have a code of silence, and this code of silence has no justification, I'm telling you, leave that environment. Stop playing around with your safety and the safety of other people. If you're in environments where a code of silence is out of place, get out. Look, the police, that's police investigation, should have a code of silence when it comes to the police cases. Your insurance company uh, or your or your physician or in hospital should have a medical code of silence, so they don't share medical details of their patients. So a code of silence is practical if the code of silence can be justified. But if there's a code of silence in place, so people have an expectation that you have to just keep your mouth shut, but they can't justify why, there's no justification for it, then get out of that situation as soon as possible. Because that means that people are in on violence. That means people are in on misfortune. So if you keep yourself in such environments where there's a code of silence, it can't be justified, that means you are likely to become either collateral damage of the tragedies and the violence over there, or you may end up participating by keeping it going. How many of you were ever in a place where there was a code of silence? There were certain things you just don't talk about, but people could never explain to you why. How many of you ever had such a situation or such a place where you were censored, but there was no justification for the censorship? Let me know in the live chat, please. Let me see the live chat. There's one thing this one question you should ask yourself when you encounter gossip. Ask yourself one thing about gossip always. What is the agenda? What is the agenda? The second question is, whose agenda is it? An agenda is a plan an agenda is an outcome you want to enforce. An agenda is an outcome you're working to make real in reality. You want an outcome to happen. The outcome can be, let's say in a neighborhood you have some of the neighbors sharing candy with the children, or ice cream. They give ice cream to children from time to time, and then you have a mailman that comes by and he sees that there is this family that lives somewhere and they always give sweets to the children. And then one day the mailman asked the couple, "Ma'am, sir, you're an elderly couple in your 60s and 70s. Why are you always giving candy to the children over here?" And then the wife tells the mailman, "Look, those children face trauma at home. Some of them are quite aggressive and loud because of the trauma they went through. We give them candy just so they can always remember that there were people that treated them well. And because they remember as adults how we treat them well, if later criminality happens in this community, or if they later become criminals or they turn to monsters, the fact that we always treat them well as children, that will stick with them and they'll be standing up for us." So now you know the agenda of why that elderly couple is so kind and generous to the children. And here's the thing, that elderly couple also has grandchildren the same age. And so the elderly couple also, they don't want their children or grandchildren to be the victim of crime. Now, those children out there were traumatized. It's not that they will automatically turn into perpetrators later on. No, but some of them will. So just in case one of the children may end up as a danger to the community later on, that child as an adult will remember, oh, those people are kind towards me. And if they encounter someone who's related to the individuals kind to them, they'll also benefit that individual. It's just an example I'm giving to you. Let's say someone opens a pub where they sell a lot of alcohol. Why would they do that? Because there's a lot of people drinking alcohol on the streets and getting drunk on the streets, and there are fights on the streets, even traffic accidents. So I open in this pub, everyone will love to drink a lot and go to the pub. That means there's ease in the street. That's the agenda. An agenda is an outcome you want to enforce in reality. In general, everyone has an agenda. The agenda can be a good one or it can be a bad one. So when there is gossip that goes around, what is the agenda? If people are genuinely sharing information that's concerning, then it's then the same that they're concerned with the safety of the community. Then there is no agenda, actually. People just want safety. Okay, so that's fine. But if there's slander and malice going on, they know that there's an agenda to get rid of certain people. And if there's an agenda to get rid of certain people, why do they want to get rid of those people? They ask, whose agenda is it? So that is what you need to ask yourself. What is the agenda? And if there is no agenda, there is no agenda. Okay? You stop looking for an agenda that's obviously not there. But if there is an agenda, whose agenda is it? Those are the two questions you need to ask when it comes to gossip. The agenda matters. For example, if people are rumoring that a school teacher is having sexual affairs with underage girl with minors, underage girls, if it's just slander or malice, it's because people just are upset with that man. The man is just a scapegoat. They know, that's the agenda. They want a distraction and that's why they target this man. Because if all the negative attention goes to that man, nobody sees what they're doing. So it's a double agenda. They want to get rid of that guy just to hide other stuff they're doing. So I need to realize, so people are slandering this school teacher just because they're hiding something else. What are people hiding? Now you can look into that. Maybe there is a maybe there's a husband that's having an affair, and the school teacher caught him once. And now that husband started those rumors that the school teacher is touching underage girls. You know why? Because he wants the bad attention to go to the teacher so nobody knows that he's cheating on his wife. That's a double agenda. But if there is no agenda and people are spreading those rumors, then ask yourself, is this true? Or if it isn't true, maybe it is that that this man is not harassing anyone, but maybe that his behavior can be a bit intimidating, and because it's intimidating, people are making up stuff as a defense mechanism. Whatever is going on, you look at what's the agenda and what's behind it. So, thank you very much for the super chat donation, Suzanne. It's very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Again, I'm not saying just go on and participate in the gossip. I've also warned you from attacking the gossip or ignoring the gossip. I'm telling you to examine the gossip. What's the agenda and whose agenda is it? You ask those two questions, then you're not distracted by the gossip. You actually now are addressing what goes on in the community. If everyone would do that, then we wouldn't have that much so much trouble in daily life. So I'm going to repeat this one more time. If a place has a code of silence that cannot be justified, get out of that place. If you work there, look for another job. Okay? Maybe not immediately, but at some point in the future, you need to be prepared to escape and get away from that job. Or if you're sexually involved with someone, let's say you're married to someone, and this individual always wants to keep things quiet. They are quite private. Beware. Someone that has this silent lifestyle what they call a private lifestyle, you need to be aware of them. That means as the individual, either they have something to hide, or what they're hiding is that they're really narcissistic, that they just want benefits, but they want to deal with long-term issues. Okay, let me give you an example to you. Let's say as a man, you get involved with a woman and you end up marrying her. Thinking she is the love of my life, but then you find out later that she had two ex-boyfriends that she ghosted when she was younger. Now, you think, oh, the past is the past. I don't bother with it. She's with me now. Then one day, maybe like 5 or 6 years in the marriage, your wife stays away from home often. You think she's overworking. Then one day, the police arrest you for domestic violence. And you think, huh, domestic violence? You tell the cops, my wife went away for a weekend with some friends. And then the police tells you, well, your wife's at a women's shelter because she has complained about you that you're beating her. And you tell the police, no, no, that's not true. I'm not beating anyone, but you're still arrested. Long story short, you find out she's been cheating on you, and now she wants to divorce you and get involved with the other guy. Now, hold up. When you were in a courtship with her, you should have asked the proper questions to figure out who you're dealing with. You didn't. You were so focused on her body, on her figure, and how smooth she was talking, all that. You were focused on all the wrong stuff. So you end up marrying her. The sex was good. You had some babies. Okay. But then you found out that she has ghosted two of her ex-partners. Two former sex partners she ghosted, just like that. That should have been a warning sign. Hold on a minute. She just ghosted those guys? And she never even talked about it to you? She didn't even mention those guys? That's a big red flag. You should realize if she goes to those people and pretend like it never happened, what makes you think she won't do it to you too? I mean, she's used to ghosting people, escaping. What makes you think she won't do it to you too? But hey, because she's your wife, because you're sexually and emotionally invested, also financially invested, you tend to give it a pass. And that's where you mess up. Ladies, the same for you. If you are with a guy and the guy is way too secretive and you give it a pass, then you just put yourself at risk. Elaine, thank you very much for the super chat donation. Very much appreciated. Okay, look, I'm not telling you to be an interrogator. I'm not telling you to stalk people. And I'm telling you to be obsessed with document everything of people. I'm not telling you to hire private detectives. I'm not telling you to follow people around. I don't tell you to put cameras in people's houses. I don't tell you to do any of those extreme weird things. No. Just know. You need to know what you're dealing with. The who can change. Who someone is the role they have at the moment. What they are is what you're actually dealing with. Too often, we give a pass to things we should have examined. If something odd or something off happens, you don't just cut people off or say, oh, I'm uncomfortable. No, you look into it. If one day you're at work and a coworker looks quite sad and angry, while it normally is fine, it can be you heard bad news or whatever. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a bad sign, but you still note it. But you see this happening multiple times, starting to think, I need to look into this. I need to report this. We need to talk about this. It can be that the colleague suffers domestic violence or that the colleague's being blackmailed or whatever. Maybe the individual doesn't dare to talk about it, but at least at work, people are aware and people look into it. Too often, we end up in dangerous situations We could have easily avoided if we just looked into the situation. Asking the right questions, you have to do it in a practical way. Don't just tell someone, hey, you've been coming to work lately often sad, man. What's going on? You can do that if the individual is ready to receive it. But if the individual is quite uh, socially withdrawn, you can just ask, hey, are you okay? You've looked a bit sad lately. So also check how you ask the question, but you need to ask the proper questions. If you know that someone is brushing off your questions, either hiding something or they are afraid to talk about it. Okay, then you know, okay, then just need to pay attention to this. I just need to talk about this. So is gossip always a wrong thing? No. Gossip, when it's slander or malice, then it's absolutely wrong. Then it's homicide because you're preparing a negative context in which something bad will happen. But if it's just information passed around, then there's nothing wrong with it. Examine the agenda behind what goes on. Don't get upset with the content, check the context. Oh, and some of you who are listening to this, others almost got you killed. Some of you ended up in bad situations because others either didn't warn you or didn't intervene. Let's say you are going to a shop to purchase some items, but that shop is known to have burglars hang around there. If people don't hint to you that there's bad company at that shop often, if people don't hint to you that most people are avoiding that shop, what goes on? They're in on the danger. Look, even if you would decide, you know what, I'll just go to the shop anyway, just for one time, still you were warned. Still you're alert. If people tell you, if people advise you not to visit a place because it can be risky, if you have to be there anyway, at least you are alert that something's off and you're safer. Even if you go to that place anyway, at least you are warned, and because you're warned, you're more alert, you're safer. But if nobody hints to you that the place may be dangerous and you end up there, you're trapped. Some of you ended up in bad relationships, some of you end up in bad situations because of neglect of the community around you. So this is something quite serious. And too many of you, you remain faithful to that same community that neglected you. You remain faithful to the same community that set you up. Look, when people don't properly inform you, or when people don't properly warn you, or they don't hint to things towards you, they are setting you up by remaining silent about obvious dangers out there. Why would you remain faithful and loyal to a community that sets you up? Oh, but it's my mom, it's my dad. Oh, it's my those are my in-laws, or those are my grandchildren, whatever. Listen, if a community sets you up, they set you up. Admit to yourself that they've set you up. If you if you have mental issues as an adult that are rooted in childhood neglect, that means the community set you up to have mental issues as an adult. Now, as an adult, you need to admit you have an issue so that you can get help. That's your responsibility to admit you have an issue. It's not your fault you have this issue, but you need to admit you have this issue so that you can get a solution for it. That's healthy for you. That's beneficial for you to admit that you have an issue. The issue may not be your fault. It doesn't have to be, but nobody cares whether it's your fault or not. You have an issue. It needs to be addressed. Look, if you've been stabbed in the street, someone stabbed you, nobody is really interested who stabbed you. No, They're interested, hey, you're bleeding, man. You need to go to an hospital. Okay, if you have issues that haunt you and people address them properly, it is painful, but admit you have those issues to yourself and to do something about it. Now, look, if someone addresses an issue in an accusing way, you don't take it. If someone dumps on you, because let's say you're someone who's often socially withdrawn, you barely voice your opinion or how you feel about stuff. Let's say someone dumps and say, hey man, you never have an opinion, you never involved, man. Let's say someone just dumps on you. You don't appreciate that. You don't take it that people just dump on you. But you do admit, they're dumping on me because they see I have an issue. Now, they have no right, no business dumping on me. There's no right having such a tone against me. But you know what? Even though they're wrong, that's their wrong. I have an issue that they took advantage of, so let me deal with this issue. If someone stabs you in the street, who cares who they are and why they stabbed you? You've been stabbed. You need to go to an hospital. That's what you need to be focused on. You or the authorities can deal with them later on. Or you know what? Better don't deal with them if they stabbed you. But you get what I'm saying. Admit to yourself you have an issue, but also admit how you got that issue. If that issue is a result of people setting you up, then they set you up. Admit that. And that's why a lot of people don't heal. Because they don't want to process the fact that they've been set up. A lot of the people who turn into alcoholics have been set up into addiction. Now they're still responsible to face it being set up so they can be healed. If they don't admit this, they remain defect and dysfunctional. So they need to admit and take responsibility. That's true. But taking responsibility doesn't mean now it's all their fault. No. The reason why a lot of people don't heal and don't recover is because they don't want to admit they were set up. Yes, slander and murder go hand in hand. They go together. So, if you've been set up, that's a painful thing to recognize. You've been set up. Accept the fact you've been set up. Don't fight it. Don't repress it. Don't run away from it. Accept it. Accept the pain of the betrayal that people set you up. Accept what it did to you. Also accept where you are now. And also accept that it's on you to do something about it so you won't get harmed further on. Accept that there's nothing you can do to change the past. Accept that you can't undo the fact you were set up. Accept the fact that that's who those people are. Accept what those people are. If you need to go into therapy to be guided in processing this, go into therapy. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed to admit you need therapy. Process the fact you've been set up. And once you admit this and you process it, you will not only heal, but you will also be wiser and more. You'll be more you'll be smarter and more intellectual afterwards also. The situation can be turned around for your good. You just need to comply with the solution. Look, you will be set up at some point in life. All people are set up at some point, some more than others, and especially as a believer, you will be set up. Now, you can also be set up for good. Okay, sometimes people withhold information from you because they don't want to overwhelm you with all the bad stuff around them, especially when you're younger. In this case, they've set you up in order to move on. So being set up for something good is fine. But if you're set up and it was at your expense, admit it happened. And believers, listen to me. You will be set up at your expense at some point. It will happen. You can't prevent it. You can't pray it away. What you can and should do is admit that you will be set up for the worst. Deal with the fact you've been set up for the worst. Process what happens, and while you process it, you move further. It may still be uncomfortable, even thinking about it years later. So be it. This thing they call closure in the world doesn't exist. The only actual closure believers will have is when Jesus Christ comes back and renews the earth, and all the wicked and all the demons are gone to the lake of fire. It's only then there will be absolute closure. But during his lifetime, emotional closure does not exist. If you have a child that was killed by a car accident because someone was drunk, there's no closure for that. As long as you live, every time it's the birthday of that child, you remember, oh, the child would have been 20 today, or it would have been 30 today. What could have happened if he wasn't killed? You have to learn to give it a proper place so you can deal with the fact the child is not around anymore. By the way, I'm not a licensed therapist, so just go to an actual therapist if you need help in this area, or someone who's anointed in it. Or let's say you worked somewhere and you were fired from your job, and the way they fired you was in a very dishonorable and disrespectful way. The fact is, if you kept working over there, you may have gotten a higher salary, or you may have gotten a higher position, but now you were fired. Now, you being fired from that place was a good thing because the people that are there were toxic. And the fact they fired you in such a dishonorable way shows you how toxic they were. So it was a good thing for you to be fired, even though it felt horrible. But if you don't process that you've been fired, you'll be stuck in the grieving process. Grieving isn't only about people that pass away, it's also about you losing a job, or losing a house, or losing a relationship, or people ghosting you, or dumping you, or your wife leaving you, or your husband leaving you for someone else. Grief is something you need to go through. The only way out is through. Now, if your spouse left you for someone else and they live as if you don't exist, that's what those people are. They took advantage of you. Now, you have to live with the fact that that's how what those people are. Once you accept this, it will not sting you anymore. But if you remain upset with what they've done to you and you never process it, now they will develop into bitterness and resentment, and now demons have hold on you. Now you're stuck. I'm not saying it's okay what they've done to you, but I'm saying it's not okay for you not to process it. So, when it comes to gossip, look beyond the gossip. Don't just don't just see the gossip. Look what's beyond the gossip. And remember the following: a lot of people out there are just neglectful. They don't even they're not even present in their own lives. Why? What makes you think they want to be present in yours? They don't even want to be present in their own lives. How do you think they want to be present in your life? If they don't want to be present in their own lives, what makes then they should even want to be present in yours? If someone's not willing to be present in their own lives, that means they're only there to drain you of your life. But anyway, the live stream has been almost 1 hour and 20 minutes. I don't want to make it that long. If there are any questions about this topic, you can ask them now. If you have to leave, you can leave. This was the class. I'll just stick around for a minute more just to check if I get any questions. Thanks for being here and listening to the live stream. All right. As to close this live stream, listen. It's always the best you hear rumors, that you hear the gossip when it goes on, and you don't hear it afterwards. Too often people hear the gossip after something bad happens. Well, while the bad thing was happening, you should have heard the gossip and the rumors, that you would be alert and you would have done something about it. And here's another thing: beware with people who are way too secretive. Beware with people who always are minding their own business. Beware with people who always want to be left alone. And beware with people who just get along with any code of silence without questioning it. People that get along with any code of silence, those people, I'm not saying they're bad nor evil people, but what I'm telling you is beware with them, because many of such people will get you killed. Because those people don't address the oddities, eventually the oddities will turn into dangerous tumors that will afflict the community. So people that don't address improper codes of silence, they are setting themselves up for failure, and they're also indirectly setting you up to be harmed also. Some people will get you killed. So beware. Well, this is it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ, keep fasting and praying, and I'll see you in next live stream.